What happens when the spark in marriage start to fade? Not out of love, but out of routine. Well, Aarav and Riya were about to find out. This is the story of two people who stopped trying to impress each other until one dinner changed everything. It all started on a Saturday night in high-rise apartment in Andheri West. The aroma of fresh roti and sabzi filled the air, but the silence between them was louder. At the dinner table sat Arav, the owner of a small but thriving digital design agency. Across from him was his wife, Riya, with her big expressive eyes focused on her plate, gently stirring the dal without eating it. Arav noticed. He looked up from his plate and asked, Riya, what happened? You have been so quiet lately. Is everything all right? Riya looked up, startled. Yes, everything is fine. I was just thinking about something. What are you thinking? Tell me. You know you can talk to me about anything, Arav said while sipping his water. I have something on my mind, but I don't know if you will like it. Arav smiled. Now you are scaring me. Just tell me now. She leaned forward and whispered as if revealing a top secret plan. It's been 3 years since we got married, Arav, and we have fallen into a routine. We don't do anything exciting. Our days start with you rushing to the office and me handling chores all day. Dinner is usually quiet, followed by scrolling on our phones until we fall asleep. I feel like we are becoming one of those boring old couple. Arav raised his eyebrow. Oh ho, madam wants excitement. Okay, what do you have in mind? That I don't know, she said, laughing nervously. But I thought maybe we could try doing different things together. Something fun, something crazy. Okay, so we will figure it out together. Yes, they both smiled. A spark flickered, faint but promising. The next evening, Ria had an idea. Let's try role play, but not just at home. Let's do it in public. Ara's eyes widened. In public? Are you serious? She nodded excitedly. Imagine we are strangers. We pick characters. We meet at a bar. You flirt with me like we have meeting for the first time. You really want to do this? Arav asked. Yes, she grinned. Later that evening, Ria entered the rooftop bar of a swanky hotel in Bandra. She wore cheap black one-piece dress. She looked like someone from Bollywood movie. She took a seat at a bar and ordered a mocktail. 10 minutes later, Arav walked in. He spotted her, walked over with a mischievous grin, and leaned in. Hey there, you look like a trouble. Ria turned slowly, pretending to be unimpressed. And you look like someone who says that to every woman sitting alone. Oh, come on. I just saw the most beautiful woman and couldn't resist saying hi. She sipped her drink. Flattery won't work on me. They continued their playful banter, drawing amused glances. But nearby, a man in plain clothes watched closely. A couple at nearby table had already begun to whisper, throwing glances at Arav. The bartender paused mid-cleaning, his eyes narrowing slightly as he watched the interaction. Arav, sensing the shift in atmosphere, felt twinge of nervousness but continued playing his part. Amidst this, the man in plain clothes was a police officer. He took step forward, convinced he was witnessing something inappropriate, thinking it was harassment. He walked over. Excuse me, madam. Is this man bothering you? Ria froze. Arav stammered. No, sir. We are just. She is my wife. Ria quickly added. Yes, yes. He is my husband. We are just acting. Sorry. The officer looked skeptical but nodded and walked away. Arav and Ria looked at each other, and burst out laughing. But the moment was gone. Back home, the mood had shifted. As they changed for bed, Arav said, "Why were you playing so hard to get? That cop thought I was some kind of cheap guy trying to take advantage." Riya said while tying her hair. "And you were acting so desperate. It was supposed to be a slow burn, not an instant pickup." Arav sighed. Fine. So maybe that idea wasn't great. Riya crawled into bed. "Maybe we try something more real next time." Next morning, Riya suggested, "Let's do a digital detox. No phones, no TV, nothing. Just us." Arav looked horrified. "For how long?" "Just one day." They powered off their phones and stared at each other. "What do we do now?" Arav asked, genuinely puzzled. They both sat around awkwardly until Arav suddenly said, "Let's cook something together." They stepped into the kitchen only to discover they were missing key ingredients. Arav offered to go. When he returned, he had bags of vegetables and a surprise. "What's that?" Riya asked, pointing to a box. "Gardening stuff. Let's plant something." Together, they made paneer tikka and jeera rice. At one point, Arav accidentally mistook salt for sugar and nearly ruined the marinade, earning a dramatic gasp from Riya. While flipping the paneer, she dropped a piece that bounces off the pan and landed right on the floor, causing them both to burst out laughing. "5 seconds rule," Arav declared, picking it up with tongs. The chaos only brought them closer. Arav chopped vegetables while Riya made rotis. They giggled, made a mess, and even burned one roti that Arav insisting on saving as a memory. Later, they stepped into their balcony and potted small herbs and flowers. It was messy, hot, and absolutely perfect. That evening, they finally gave in and switched their phones on. Both stared at the screen for a minute before Arav said, "I missed you more than I missed my phone." Ria smiled. "Same." The next day, Arav had an idea. "Let's swap lives for a day. You go to my office and I stay home and do all your work." Ria raised an eyebrow. "You will cook and clean?" "I'll try." And so they did. At the office, Ria was overwhelmed by constant calls, client meetings, and impossible deadlines. Meanwhile, Arav burned the dal, flooded the bathroom trying to wash clothes, and enjoyed his fingers grating coconuts. By evening, they flopped on the sofa. "I always thought you had it easy at home," Arav admitted, rubbing to his sore shoulder. "But now I realize how exhausting it can be. There are no breaks, no fixed hours." "And I thought running a business was just sitting in an AC office and delegating tasks. But it's non stop chaos, pressure, and decisions." I was so lost. They looked at each other with newfound understanding. "We may not say it often," Arav said, "but what you do matters. A lot." Ria smiled. "And what you do too. Maybe we don't need to swap lives to see each other's worth. We just need to talk more often." They leaned back, and silence between them now comfortable, warm, and full of respect. "Let's spice things up," Arav said one night. He brought a glass jar. "We will write down fantasies on chairs and pick one every few days." "Okay, I'm in," Ria said. They scribed, folded, and dropped fantasies into the jar. Some romantic, some silly, and some bold. Each sheet brought new laughter, awkwardness, and passion. One chittered, "Dance for me like I'm your favorite hero," leading to Arav awkwardly mimicking Shah Rukh Khan in their living room, while Ria laughed till tears rolled down her cheeks. Another said midnight chai date on the terrace, and they ended up sipping cutting chai under the stars, wrapped up in one blanket, whispering childhood memories. These moments, silly or sweet, drew them closer in the ways they hadn't imagined. Whether it was a candlelight dinner on terrace or dancing to 90s Bollywood songs in the living room, they explored sides of each other they had forgotten. One Sunday morning, Ria said, "Let's paint our bedroom wall." "Have you ever painted before?" Arav asked. "Not really." They bought pens, brushes, and go to work. The first half was chaos. Paint on clothes, paint on hair, paint on noses. By the time the wall was done, they were covered in color, laughing hysterically, and too tired to clean up. They lay on the floor, arms tangled. "This is the best day," Ria whispered. Months passed. The fantasy jar still sat proudly on the shelf. The wall, although uneven, remained their favorite part in the house. The garden on their balcony had bloomed. One evening, Arav came home with a tiny wrapped box. "What's this?" Ria asked. "Open it," he said. Inside was a small kitchen with a photo of their painted wall. "It's silly," Arav said, "but it reminds me that love isn't always perfect. It's messy, fun, beautiful, just like us." Ria's eyes welded up. "I love you, Arav." "I love you too, Ria." And just like that, the spark wasn't just back, it had turned into a flame. If this story made you laugh, cry, or just miss someone you love, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more heartfelt stories like this. Because sometimes love just needs a second chance and a little mischief.